Hey there, I'm Kieran Galaxia, and welcome to The Gamer. So, you want to overthrow a fascistic government, overthrow the man and fight for the people, or just, enjoy the new entry in the Far Cry series and take down outposts? Well, if you're new here or a series veteran, Far Cry 6 does things a little differently. So here's some pointers that have helped me take down Castillo's reign. So for starters, in Far Cry 6 there's a few kind of military outposts, namely FND bases, anti-aircraft guns, and checkpoints. Bases are the big boys of the game and give you supplies and new shops, but anti-aircraft guns are good for their depleted uranium, which you use for your Supremos and Resolver weapons. And checkpoints free up the roads, meaning you can drive around at ease, so don't neglect them. The game will introduce you to these, so there's nothing new here, but it's worth the heads up. What is new here, however, is how Far Cry 6 handles your inventory. You actually carry all of it now. No need to switch at shops or outposts, you're a walking inventory of Supremos, primary weapons, gadgets, and secondaries. You want to make sure you're equipped for each outcome. In the early game, I recommend a good stealth weapon, good assault weapon, and a weapon that can deal with vehicles. Also, check your ammo types, and make sure you have an even spread. The game will give your starting weapons armor-piercing rounds and soft target rounds, and these are a great starting point. The later ammo types are also great, especially combining poison and incendiary, but soft target and armor-piercing are essentials. And with a third weapon with regular rounds, you've got all your bases covered at the start of the game. Okay, now onto the military bases themselves. One thing that hasn't changed which helps is surveying the base before you assault, and looking for key targets, namely the alarms. But there's a few things in Far Cry 6 that may be different to what you're used to from previous games. For starters, health bars. If you've been sticking to numbered entries, you might not be aware of these, but don't worry, they're just health bars. They do convey some important info though, and not just how many bullets a fascist can soak up. White bars mean they're easy enough for you to take down. 1 or 2 shots and they're dead. Simple. Yellow means they're a little more trained and prepared, and can take a bit more punishment. Red means they outrank you quite heavily, and can be a challenge. And if you see a skull, maybe back off for a bit. Don't let big health bars scare you too much though. There's no real punishment for death, and no matter how tough most targets are, nobody is a match for a machete to the neck. Just ask Danny Trejo. Now that we've covered that new intel, here's one more point on surveillance. Enemies, before they've been tagged, will appear as red clouds. If you want to know if you fully covered a base, make sure there's no more red clouds on the map. Once you've done that, it's time to hunt. Okay, we've covered most of everything new here, so here's how I prioritize taking out military bases. If you're a veteran, you probably know all of this, but it never hurts to have a tune-up. So for starters, take out the alarms and cameras. Preferably use an assault rifle or a bow, as even silenced sniper rifles can create too much noise on bullet impact. Next, take out the captain, and completely remove her communications so they can't sound an alarm. When you're taking out an FND base, if nobody sounds an alarm, you'll get bonus materials. Now for guard priorities. My choice is to take out medics, so they can't revive their comrades, and snipers, because they do tons of damage and they're just kind of a pain, really. As for everyone else, do as you please. Go loud or go quiet. Far Cry 6 is fun both ways, and sometimes you just want to let your hair down. Stealth can be rewarding, and sure, the threat of special forces later on in the game can be terrifying, but sometimes you gotta let loose and just bask in the chaos. And if you don't like the outcome, just run. Special forces are pretty bad at chasing you, and you can come back to the base later, but as long as you're prepared for any outcome, you're pretty good. So that's my quick guide to conflict in Far Cry 6. It may be preaching to the choir for some of you, and new info for others. But above all, I hope you enjoyed it and maybe learned something new. If you want to see more guides from us, head on over to thegamer.com.